Hello world, I'm Tomasino. This is Solarpunk Prompts, a series for writers where we discuss solarpunk, a movement that imagines a world where technology is used for the good of the planet. In this series, we spend each episode exploring a single solarpunk story prompt, adding some commentary, some inspirations, and some considerations. Most importantly, we consider how that story might help us to better envision sustainable civilization. If this is your first time here, I'd recommend checking out our Introductions episode first, or this season's introduction, where we talk about what solarpunk is, why you should care, and why this series came into being. Today's prompt is The Tailors. A new tailor joins a community which has lacked one for years. In a world of distributed manufacturing, tailors are no longer just artisans, but educators, material and sustainability experts, fashion designers, and translators of cultures, making sure no garment offends others when traveling. Seeing that they're much less traditional than their predecessor, will they be accepted by the community? Which bold statement surprised everybody? It may seem like a distant memory for many in the Western world, but the production of clothes was a common home activity for all of human history, right up until the 1970s with the birth of fast fashion. By exporting labor to exploited underpaid workers, primarily in Asia, retailers scaled up a massive industry to replace the home sewer and local tailor. By the mid-1990s, we were already at problematic levels, and that has only accelerated since. The Center for Biological Diversity explains, the fast fashion business model relies on the exploitation of resources and human labor to deliver garments following the latest trends to its consumers at an unprecedented rate. Waste occurs at every stage of the garment manufacturing process, harming wildlife, degrading land, and polluting soil and water. The industry is now responsible for as much as 10% of global carbon dioxide emissions, and that doesn't even begin to discuss the human rights issues. According to a report by the European Environment Agency, each garment we buy today is used on average 7 times before it being discarded. Before fast fashion, that was a very different story. Clothing was an investment of time and energy that warranted upkeep. Higher quality, sturdier fabrics could easily last years before being mended into secondary garments. It's hard to imagine any sustainable future where this type of industry still exists. So what might we imagine instead? Now, before fast fashion, humanity put hundreds of years of effort into researching and optimizing local, sustainable solutions for clothing. Not only were the materials and the methods considered, but they intersected and influenced cultural identity everywhere. Whether the Scottish kilt or the Ugandan kanzu or the Chinese hanfu, clothing is an expression of identity that is deeply connected to the people and history. Our future communities will still be made of people, and their cultural identities will continue to be formed from their shared characteristics, place of birth, religion or ethics, cuisine, social behaviors, art, and values. The way they dress themselves will grow organically from that place. We can think about what might influence those choices based on our understanding of the history of textiles and our vision of a solarpunk environment. There are physical considerations, sustainable materials, recycling, local climate and medical needs. There's also the social considerations, politics, personal expression or ceremony. And finally, we need to think critically about the role of a tailor in this type of community. What role do they play amidst all of our emerging technology? Beginning with the material itself, what happens to synthetic materials? While useful, the industrial processes used to create the textiles may not be available without a robust global supply chain. And even so, they produce many harmful substances into the environment. Will natural fibers be able to replicate the features we need in different environments? Is beeswax enough for waterproofing? Will we need something more robust, like bioengineered silk? This could be a fun area of development for a story, but be careful to avoid the trap of techno-solutionism. The silk won't save the world, but the humans using it might. We also have mountains of disposable fast fashion garments that won't suddenly disappear from the world. Whether in storehouses or landfills, there's a lot of material to deal with. The environmental cost has already been paid for much of this material. Can we utilize it in a way that'll help our communities without further harming them? There are already some efforts underway exploring that possibility. One prototype project was the Loop machine. That's 3 O's. The machine shreds old garments, spins the fibers into yarn, and knits new materials. It was a demo project installation with H&M, who is also looking into other recycling technologies, such as binding old textiles with wood cellulose. Whatever the output of such efforts, whether via reuse or new creation, we hope they'll be designed to meet the specific climate needs of the community. We might not have to imagine anything as robust as the Fremen still suits in Frank Herbert's Dune, but if our future communities are living in harmony with their environment, they must surely dress the part. The multi-layered suit in heavily air-conditioned offices should be a thing of the past. How will your people promote air circulation or retain heat as necessary? Here, we encounter one of the first places where a tailor's skills may become a necessity. The production of textiles is primarily a process of technology, repetition, and patience. That technology might be as lo-fi as gathering milkweed, or it could involve shredders or even 3D printers. Whatever the method, the rest is human power and time. Creating a garment, though, that's an art and a science of its own. Three-dimensional structures are created through joining, interfacing, cutting, and binding, all with an understanding of drape and line, of silhouette and balance, and hopefully with an understanding of the garment's use. The tailor is the expert and educator. It's they who will be able to recommend the right materials and educate on how to care for them. In measuring a client for just the right fit, we could imagine a specific tailor with the same meditative caring qualities we might find from the tea monk in Becky Chambers' Monk and Robot series. A tailor is an innovator, creating patterns like the greatest of artists, not just to be seen, but to be worn and used, and then mended and used again. Surely they will have taught their community well, and now everyone knows the basics of mending and maintenance. Now our tailor serves 4 main functions: educating, taking on or assisting with harder projects, for example, a fire brigade's uniform, guiding community on appropriate garment adoption based on the need and environment, or creating totally new patterns. A tailor is a powerful addition to a community, not just as a resource, but as a human being that knows them and their needs. The attention of a tailor brings the opportunity for personalization. Do you need a medical mask to be worn at all times, or maybe only during the seasons for your allergies? There's nothing wrong with that. We could incorporate them into a standard outfit so that you don't look off to your community. Do you need to use a specific material for undergarments? Can do. Do you have an implant requiring a small battery pack? We can add small pockets into all your shirts or trousers. If someone is missing a limb, maybe their outfit could accommodate that, being asymmetrical or putting pockets only on one side, or featuring some additional straps for balancing the weight of backpacks and bags. Personalization can be even more, though. It can be more than customizing your needs. It can reflect who you are. In the globalist but post-capitalistic world of Terra Ignota by Ada Palmer, it is customary to reflect your political allegiances, ideologies, and stances on preferences through your outfit. Some people put patterns representing their personalities in their sweaters, and others mark their favorite movies or interests by their shoes. Wearing a sash of a specific color is a global sign of belonging to one or another legal order, letting everyone know what to expect just from the wearer. This goes beyond just ceremonial garb of judges or lawmakers. Everyone expresses themselves this way daily. Does your solar punk world have such a societal, regional, or global symbol? Your tailor could explain to you that wearing a green armband says that you're purely vegan, while a lavender one marks you as someone who enjoys lab-grown meat. Do bracelets with gold rings mean that somebody is polyamorous and open for dating? Do such symbols differ in different regions? Could that spark a ridiculous misunderstanding between travelers who haven't consulted their local tailor before embarking? Wearing a Mao suit might mark you as a fan of the 2046 reboot of that movie. Some communities, though, might see it as highly problematic. The explorer's hat might look fancy, but very offensive to people whose ancestors were colonized by the British Empire. Our own world has tumultuous discussions about cultural appropriation between different nations, traditions, and ethnicities. What if your cool fish symbol is actually a holy icon for a Shinto believer? A good tailor should be aware of those and make sure that you understand the context of what you want to wear. Now, so far, we've spoken mostly about the everyday wear, but every profession might need a work outfit, whether it's for working in the field, a hospital, or a steel mill. A tailor can help them recommend sustainable solutions. Do we need leather padding, some antibacterial coating? Does it need to be replenished every week? Or how should we wash it? Consider also non-professional wear. Someone traveling very far away using airports, blimps, or long-distance trains might not want to expose everyone else to their community's biome. Wearing a traveler's mask, a cloak, or some traditional outfit might signify that someone is a long way from home and let the local community know that they might need hospitality. It could even introduce a whole set of new rituals and symbols. A tailor's influence is not a minor thing, nor do they act in a vacuum. Remember, the styles from the 1940s came from war rationing and military uniform patterns. Those of the 1950s were in reaction to Christian Dior's silhouette breaking styles that were in reaction, again, to those wartime styles. Everything comes from somewhere in reaction to something else. How might the development of a solar punk community directly lead to style changes? In addition to finding harmony with the environment, solarpunk is still a vision of the future that embraces smart uses of technology to make lives better. Your solarpunk world might choose to selectively employ electronics in the clothing and in the design as well. Even today, some universities are working on heart monitoring sweaters and armbands, which could alert a hospital in case of a serious problem. What we're often not considering is daily usage of such garments. How do you clean it? How do you repair them? If a wire breaks, what do you do? A good community tailor will not only work with a doctor or an engineer, but gladly teach you how to take care of your smart garment. Finally, while the focus of this episode is clothing and tailors, you can apply similar perspectives to multiple trades and artisans in your solarpunk future. You can't count on AI to replace a good optometrist or a 3D printer to be a substitute for a blacksmith and a plumber. In the second book of the Monk and Robot series, A Prayer for the Crown Shy, Becky Chambers presents a glimpse of such crafts in a solarpunk community, where gray water and white water plumbing with natural filtration systems is something a local expert can tend to effortlessly. How might your craftspeople work with these new technologies in a way that remains sustainable to meet the needs of their community? Think for a moment about your own town and the people around you doing that job today. What sort of people are they? Now imagine their lives in 20, 40, or 60 years. How will the worker today influence those starting out in that solarpunk future? I hope this prompt inspires you to think deeper about the creative people all around you and how they may influence the world of tomorrow, right down to the shirt on your back. Until next time, I'm Tomasino. Hope you'll join me for the next Solarpunk prompt. The music in this episode is At the End of All Things by Scott Buckley and Lo-Fi Ambient by Ver of Etienne.